Harp on Sports, The Bar, Podcast Media, Audio, Radio Network. Follow, share, like, subscribe. All your platforms at Harp on Sports, Facebook. What do we have in store for you on this episode? Well, it's like this. It's going to be college football heavy again as we now enter the final week of the regular season. We're there. We're at the final week of the regular season now. Or the season, I should say. Conference championship week is here. I think it's exciting. I look at these matchups. There's so much on the line. I can't think of the last time we got into a college football playoff scenario championship week where there's only one guaranteed spot. Georgia's in no matter what. I think everything else is up for grabs. So we're going to look at that. Also, we look at coaches now in college football. This chaos that we see. Lincoln Riley to SC. Billy Napier to Florida really doesn't surprise anybody. But what does Oklahoma do now? And do they go and snag somebody from another major program? Does this continue that cartwheel effect? So we're going to look at that as well. And also the Heisman hit. I really believe at this point, there's somebody that should get the Heisman Trophy that has come out of nowhere. Plays in the Big Ten, and he's not a quarterback at Ohio State. So Bryce Young's in the driver's seat. He's probably going to win it. He shouldn't. We'll tell you who should coming up. So let's start off first with this college coaching chaos that we have. And, I'm looking at this stuff. And Josh Heupel to USC. Okay. Or Josh Heupel to USC, excuse me. Lincoln Riley to USC. I think Josh Heupel is who Oklahoma should target. He played there, almost won a Heisman there, should have won a Heisman there, won a national championship there, just took Tennessee to 7-5. He's an Oklahoma kid. Josh Heupel makes sense to go to Oklahoma to replace Lincoln Riley now that Lincoln Riley's at SC. Will they do that? I don't know. Will that open up Tennessee? Then we'll see what they do. But the whole angle of this with Lincoln Riley now to SC is that he's afraid because he can't win it in the SEC. He's scared of the SEC. It's too hard to win in the SEC. That's why he's leaving. Maybe. Or try this on for size. It's easier to win a national championship at Southern Cal. SEC fans are passionate. They love their teams, but they have such an inferiority complex, it's beyond me. SEC fans have the biggest inferiority complex of any fans in any sport. They're the greatest. If they're not the greatest, you better tell them they're the greatest. If not, they're going to tell you that they're the greatest. And it's impossible to be great anywhere else without an easier path. Now, the fact of the matter is the SEC East is garbage. The SEC West is good. But even then, LSU just beat A&M. So 6-6 Auburn just pushed Alabama to the limit. So, look, that's fine. And do I think it's more difficult to win in the SEC? Yeah. You're recruiting the same area of the country. Now it's a very, very vast oil well. But you're recruiting the same area of the country. So I've got a question for you. If it's harder to win here. It's harder to win here. Well, if that's the case, then everybody should coach in the MAC. Because it's harder to win a national championship in the MAC than it is the SEC. You go to the SEC to have more resources, to have more money, to make your job easier to be successful. So, sorry, I'm not going down this path. It's garbage that, he couldn't hack it here. He couldn't handle it in the SEC. That's why he's leaving. Or, try to emphasize, that the USC job's better than the Oklahoma job. Because it is. The USC job's the best job in college football. You're in LA. You have your choice of what you want in California. And you get to play in the Pac-12. I mean, do we sit there and say that, look, if Dabo Swinney left Clemson to go to USC, is it because he's scared of the ACC? What Lincoln Riley sees at Southern Cal is his opportunity to be the Dabo Swinney and Clemson of the Pac-12. That's what he sees. That's why he's doing it. Plus, here's the other thing, too. Kind of in Bob Stoops' shadow, like Ryan Day's still a little bit in Urban Meyer's shadow at Ohio State. So I can go to USC and build it on my own. It's my own thing. Plus, you're going to give me $100 million? Look, gang. Loyalties change when you start moving the decimal point around. When the comma starts to move around on a check, loyalty is cheap. So Lincoln Riley did the absolute right thing. Well, he doesn't want to be in the SEC because it's harder. All right, fine. Then I better see you all walking to work tomorrow because that's harder than driving. Why don't y'all quit your jobs and work on minimum wage? Harder to survive. This whole thing that people mock people for wanting to make their career an easier path. Your job, so I can make more money? And my job can be easier? Isn't that the goal? Build your own house with your own hands. Go down to Lowe's, Home Depot, get a bunch of lumber. So you don't want to be in the SEC because it's harder. Go down to USC because it's easier out there. I got a question. When it's 20 degrees outside, do you run outside 3 miles or do you run inside on the treadmill? When you have to be somewhere, if you have to be to the airport and your flight leaves an hour, do you leave 30 minutes before the flight takes off just to see how hard you can make it? That's ridiculous. It is. I'll remember that the next time. I want you all buying cars that are 30 years old, 40 years old, driving those around rather than new cars. Make it harder. Come on, make life harder for you. I want you to type up the next big thing you've got to do. Do your resume on a typewriter next time. It's harder. Mocking Lincoln Riley because he's going to the Pac-12 to coach SC because it's easier out there. It's easier out there. Every single one of us want an easier job that pays more money. It's a negative. Knock the AC out of your car. Turn the AC off. Next time it's 100 degrees out, turn the AC off. Drive around in 100-degree weather with the windows rolled up. It's harder. It's harder to handle that. Turn the heat off in your house. Harder to sleep at night when it's 25 degrees inside. Just absurd. Theater of the absurd. So, that's a good choice. If I were Oklahoma, I'd hire Josh Heupel. That's who I'd target. Oklahoma guy, took us to a national championship, proved that he went into Tennessee that was just a mess. Were they 3-9, 4-8 last year, whatever they were? And he turned them around and they're 7-5. And he's an Oklahoma guy. Come on. Come on. He had UCF in a major bowl game. Right? Lost to LSU, who would go on to win the national title the next year. Josh Heupel's my guy if I am Oklahoma. Florida hires Billy Napier. What do I know? He's got a quote that a bunch of Gator fans love. Scared money don't make money. Great. Well, he's a good recruiter. Okay. And he had back-to-back 10-win seasons at Louisiana. Looks like he's a good coach. He was on Nick Saban's staff. But I did see this job just chew up and spit out a guy that won 10 straight games for 3 straight years. I saw this job chew up and spit out a guy that won double-digit games at Colorado State. I saw this job chew up and spit out a guy that won national championships as a coordinator, was Texas's head coach in waiting, and he got fired. So, do you think the guy that was the head coach at Louisiana? Ready for this? Oh, okay. Okay. It reminds me of Alabama fans wanting to hire Joe Kynes, who was their coordinator that took over after they canned Shula before they got Saban because he had a funny voice. He don't like this. Oh, I love him. We need to hire him. Okay. Oh, did you see his quote? It's awesome. All right. I hope Billy Napier is successful. But what's interesting about him is he is not going to be a boisterous guy. And that's what they want. Dan Mullen was a boisterous guy. Said a lot of things. Jim McElwain wasn't a boisterous guy, but just was combative. Will Muschamp was both. And now you got a guy that's going to be very buttoned up, polished. Again, I'd love to see Billy Napier succeed. The better Florida is, the better my job is. But I'm telling you, the angle that he was successful at Louisiana, so he's going to be successful at Florida because he can recruit the area. Okay, type of X's and O's type of guy he is. because that's what it boils down to. It's about recruiting. No, it's about coaching, and you're going to find that out. Nick Saban had better players than Auburn. They trailed the whole game. Why? Why? Because Brian Harsin out-coached him. Didn't he? Didn't Ed Orgeron didn't they out-game plan and out-coach A&M? A&M's got better players. This whole thing, everybody thinks if they have recruiting, they're going to be successful. It's the same thing, and you know this as well as I know this. If I gave you $1 million, and I gave another member of your family $1 million, one of you would blow it. Giving $1 million to two different people, you're not going to get the same outcome. You're just not. So the way I look at this, and once we get in the top 5 recruiting classes, we're going to be a shoo-in to win. All right, A&M in the last 4 years has had 3 top 5 recruiting classes. These guys are all juniors. They went 8-4 this year. They took a step back. Clemson, top 5 recruiting classes in each of the last 5 years. This year they went 9-3. Ohio State, top 5 recruiting class. Not going to be in the playoff. You can love recruiting, and that's fine. You want better players, I get it. I get it. But to think that, we're going to come in, we're going to have top 5 recruiting classes, and he's going to recruit, and Mullen couldn't recruit, he'll probably be a better recruiter than Dan Mullen. I see the guy, and Billy Napier is a very straightforward, very polished, very corporate guy. Wish him the best of luck. But success at Louisiana is different than success at Florida. He coached under Saban. Yeah, he was a wide receivers coach. Okay. Again, I think he'll do well, but you just fired a coach that went to 3 straight major bowl games. You just shoved a coach out. I know there's more to it than that. Florida just canned a guy that won the Peach Bowl, followed by the Orange Bowl, followed by playing for an SEC championship and losing in the Cotton Bowl. And I understand his personality rubbed people the wrong way. I was the only one critical of the dude a year ago. The only one. The only one. I was the only one that was on the air that was critical of him. Because of dressing up with Darth Vader, I'm like, you don't do that. Wanting to panic the swamp in the middle of a pandemic that's killing thousands of people. Said it was reckless. That's why I'm podcasting today and not on the radio. Facts. So, I was the only one critical of the dude last year. And I'm sitting here telling you, you fire a coach who wins 10 games 3 years in a row. Oh, okay. Okay, go do it. But if you think that's going to happen here in the next 3 years, it's not. Maybe 5-6 years down the road. Again, now if I look at like Lincoln Riley, looking at the rest of the landscape of college sports and college football, why would I want to be a part of a conference that's firing guys after one bad year when I can go out to USC and be adored? And make $100 million. And here's the other thing that people forget. Question. Where is it easier to do name, image, and likeness? LA or Norman? The game is changing right in front of people's eyes and they don't even realize it. Where is it easier to do name, image, and likeness? Norman or LA? If you say Norman, Oklahoma, well, there you go. All right, college football playoff. As we look at this, number 1 should be Georgia. Should be Georgia. Number 1 should be Georgia. Number 2 should be Michigan. Who's Alabama beating this year? I just saw Michigan beat Ohio State. Number 2 should be Michigan. 3, Alabama, fine. Although I can sit here and say Cincinnati has a better win than Alabama has. Don't they? Going into Notre Dame and winning, it's better than what Alabama's done this year, but fine. Alabama 3, Cincinnati 4, Oklahoma State 5, Notre Dame 6. That's what it should be. That's what it should be. I'm okay. Look, that's fine. I grew up a Notre Dame fan. Do I want to see him in the playoff? Of course I do. But I get it. They're back there at the bottom of the one-loss list, and they're not playing this weekend, which could benefit them or hurt them depending on what takes place. Notre Dame needs Oklahoma State to win. No, actually, they don't. No, Notre Dame needs one of 2 things to happen. They need Iowa to win or they need Baylor to win. If Iowa or Baylor wins, Notre Dame's going to be in the playoffs because Alabama's not beating Georgia. No way. No way. Unless I see something that I haven't seen all year long. Alabama struggled for 54 minutes to score against Auburn. Now, do I think they'll score more against Georgia? Yeah. But look, Georgia's going to win that game by double digits. So Alabama's going to be out. Notre Dame needs Iowa or Baylor to win. The minute that happens, Notre Dame's in. You can complain all you want. Who else are you going to put in there? Ohio State didn't even win the division of their conference. And really, who's going to be the sacrificial lamb for Georgia anyway? Look. And here's what's funny about this, as I was looking through this. There's only one shoe in. Think about the debate we're having right now. Oh my gosh, how does this work? And you want to expand it to 12? Do you know what your debate would be? Right now our debate is, where does Notre Dame go? Where does Cincinnati go? Where does Oklahoma State? Oh my gosh, where does Michigan go? That's your debate. Do you know what I went down and looked. If you go to 12, 10 through 15, just to give you the debate, here's what your debate would be today. What do we do with Michigan State and BYU in Utah? What do you do with Michigan State, Oregon, BYU, and Utah? That would be your debate. You tell me what's a better debate. Oklahoma State, Notre Dame, Michigan, Cincinnati, Alabama. Is that a better debate, having that debate this weekend? Or is the better debate, what do we do with BYU? What do we do with Utah? Because that's what you're going to get if you go to 12. And meanwhile, you got Wake Forest down there that's like 16, taking on Pitt, who's 17. So the ACC champ could be Wake Forest at 11-2, and they're out. And who knows what the world would look like with 12. It's going to go to 12 because you make more money doing 12. But anybody says 12 will be better. 12 will be better. Oh, so we're going to give Alabama a bye. Great. Alabama the bye. And play BYU in the second round. That'd be fun. Oh, we're going to give Georgia a bye. Oh, give Georgia a bye. Top 4 teams get byes. Great, great. So the 4 best teams are going to get byes and going to get to sit around for 2 weeks and play what? Houston? All right. Sounds like fun. Let's have that debate. That's what's going to be. And again, Georgia 1, Bama 2, or Michigan 2. Georgia got to play Alabama, so it really doesn't matter. If I were voting, Georgia 1, Michigan 2, Bama 3, Cincinnati 4, Oklahoma State 5, Notre Dame 6. And if Iowa or Baylor win, Notre Dame's going to go because Georgia's going to beat Alabama. I'm going to wrap with the Heisman. I'm going to end with the Heisman because everybody's pointing, C.J. Stroud's not going to get to play this weekend, so C.J. Stroud's out. If he got to play, I think would have won it because I think Ohio State would have destroyed Iowa. I think Michigan's going to beat them too, but that's beside the point. Everybody, it's probably, I was looking at this, Bryce Young's odds are 1-2. What's interesting about this is I've looked back over the course of the last few years. Last year, as we hit this stage, the favorite wasn't who won it. Devonta Smith won it, right? And he wasn't the favorite going into championship weekend. Everybody looked around and goes, he's the best player in college football. So he ended up winning it. With Mac Jones, the odds, Kyle Trask, those guys were up there at the top. Trask played well. Jones played well, but Devonta Smith tore it up. And they're like, okay, well, look, he's the best player. He wins it. So that's what happened last year. 2 years ago, Joe Burrow was the best. 3 years ago, everybody thought Tua Tagovailoa was going to win it. What happened? Well, Tua Tagovailoa got hurt. Jalen Hurts comes in. Was it Jalen Hurts that came in that year? Not 3 years ago now? Comes in, leads Alabama to a comeback win. And what happens? Well, then you peel back and everybody's like, okay, well, look, who's really the better quarterback here? What are we going to do? Oh my gosh, look. Kind of got that kid at Oklahoma, right? I mean, what are we going to do? He's the best player. Let's give it to him. That's what happened. Well, this year, I've seen enough. I don't have a Heisman vote. I don't. I should, because I was looking at this. Aiden Hutchinson from Michigan should win it. He's third odds-wise now. Bryce Young's 1-2, C.J. Stroud's 9-2, and Aiden Hutchinson 7-1. If I had a Heisman vote, Aiden Hutchinson would get it. Aiden Hutchinson's the best player in college football. Defensive lineman, Michigan. That's who should win the Heisman. And look, I think if Georgia dumps Alabama and Michigan beats Iowa and Hutchinson does to Iowa what he just did to Ohio State, he's going. Will he win it? It's a shame because it's such an offensive statistical award now. But Aiden Hutchinson should win the Heisman Trophy. That's who should get it. Jordan Davis? Yeah. I like Jordan Davis too. I do. But to me, Hutchinson would get it. He would. He's the best player in college football. But Alabama will probably lose to Georgia 24-10. And Bryce Young will have 240 yards passing, a touchdown, and 2 picks, and he'll win it. But here's your chance to give it to defensive player. Everybody talks about defensive player. Here's your chance to do it. There we go. Harp on Sports, the Bar, podcast, audio, media, radio network. Follow, share, like, subscribe at Harp on Sports on all of your platforms. HarpOnSports.com. Check it out as well. And remember, stay clean, stay focused, stay strong. Frankenstein. Have fun with your friends.